What is up, guys? Hope everyone's doing fantastic. Today, I will be reviewing some of the best destinations that you could potentially relocate to either long-term or temporarily if you are a digital nomad, aka if you are not tied to one fixed location in order to operate from in terms of your work or career, whatever it might be. You just need a freaking laptop and Wi-Fi connection. So I will be going through a list of the places which I have actually been to. Your boy is a fairly well-traveled man, so at least I can say with some confidence what my own thoughts and views are on each of these places I will be discussing throughout this video. So we'll be starting off in no particular order with Bali, the island in Indonesia. Extremely popular right now for nomads to be relocating and just parking themselves up long term because, I mean, what's not to love about it? You've got great weather, although seasonal. It's pretty damn good, tropical, the nature's amazing. Prices overall, not that expensive. Probably was a lot cheaper back in the day. The prices are creeping up now, but still fairly good in comparison to a lot of places I'm talking about in this video. It's also good in terms of the health and the wellness scene. Probably one of the best in the world right now. Access to healthy food is pretty high. And you've also got quite a bit of variety for different locations on the island. You've got Canggu, which is busy. You've got Uluwatu, more chilled, coastal vibes, beautiful beaches, surfing, Ubud, jungle, and then the rest of Bali, which I haven't really seen, but apparently is also quite good. On the downside, though, it is pretty terrible in terms of its infrastructure. It's got a lot catching up to do. Getting around is a nightmare. You basically need to get used to the fact that you'll be driving everywhere on a scooter and there's going to be traffic jams everywhere. There is quite a bit of flooding from time to time when it pours it down. It's quite seasonal in the winter months, which is, well, I guess it doesn't really have a winter month, but it has a rainy season and not a rainy season, more of a dry season. But even in the rainy season, it's still like, okay. And you could also argue that it's getting a little bit too busy now. Everybody wants to go there. It's overcrowded. The island isn't really equipped to handle that many people, or at least certain areas are just getting overloaded with people. So probably not as good as it used to be. Might not get better. It might get better. It depends what the government decides to do. I will place it in A tier. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty damn good spot to go and relocate to, whether it be full-time or even part-time for a few months. Next one, Lisbon. Quite a popular place in recent times, based in Portugal, in case you didn't know. I've been there before a couple of times, and it's a cool spot. Very scenic. The city's kind of built on these hills, very charming, old buildings. If you like culture, European culture, you're probably going to be a fan of it. It's not too expensive, although, again, recently prices have been going up quite a bit. And it does have a pretty strong digital nomad scene, cafe, restaurant scene, good infrastructure. You're reasonably close to a lot of other European cities, and the weather is okay. I mean, at least it doesn't get freezing during the winter like a lot of other European cities get. Potential downsides. Walking around, you can walk around, but you'll be going up and down quite a bit. At least I was at the place I was staying. A lot of the accommodation Airbnbs, I would say, are quite dated. I mean, for what you're paying for, you're not going to get like a modern, spacious apartment. It's usually going to be quite an old place that really hasn't been renovated and might have some problems with it. I would say overall, it's fairly balanced in a lot of areas, but I think it's a bit meh. It's okay, but it's not wow. And me personally, I would get bored if I was going to be there for a long period of time. So I'm going to put it in B tier. Next, we're going to move on to 3 American cities that are worth mentioning, starting off with New York City. New York, New York. Well, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere else in the world. It is home to some of the world's elite, richest, smartest, most successful sports people, entrepreneurs, artists, models, entrepreneurs, whatever it might be. Some of the best of the best are living in New York. So in terms of networking, it is extremely good. It's also one of those cities which is quite good for walking around. It is huge, but yes, if you wanted to walk from one end to the other, it is actually possible to do so. And I would say the energy is quite infectious. Like if you go there, the hustle and the bustle and the productivity is going to rub off on you for sure. Like it's unlikely you're going to feel lazy if you're based in New York City. One of the downsides, though, some of the downsides include the fact that it's extremely expensive. Like probably in terms of all the places I'm going to talk about in this video up there as being one of the most expensive. Not only when it comes to like just getting around and groceries and things like that, but the accommodation, absolutely outrageous. So you already have to kind of be in a situation where you're earning quite a lot of money to enjoy yourself and live comfortably in New York. It's also very intense. I mean, living in a city is going to be intense to some extent, but I feel like New York is up there with probably one of the most intense places that you could possibly live. And you probably feel as though you would need to escape from it from time to time and just feel extremely drained from the non-stop hustle and bustle and action that is occurring. It's also very seasonal. So in the wintertime, it is freezing, like super, super cold. Okay. I won't even go there in the wintertime because I'm not about that life. And then in the summertime, it can get to the extremes where it's quite hot and humid and there isn't really any way to escape it unless you just stay inside. So there's probably a lot of time throughout the year where you won't really go outdoors. But when the weather is great, it's a top spot to be for sure. It's also worth mentioning that if you want to stay there short term and rent out an apartment, it's pretty much nearly impossible because of the new legislation and law that's in place, which bans people from renting out their accommodation for less than 30 days. So if you stay for less than 30 days, you're probably going to have to stay in a hotel, which is especially inconvenient for people like me who want to travel with their team because they have to pay for multiple hotel rooms, which is quite expensive. So if you go in there long term, maybe you have better chances of getting accommodation. But again, it's going to be expensive, probably not going to have a huge amount of space. So if you want to get a taste of the luxury lifestyle, you're probably not going to get any of that in New York unless you're making serious dough. And then on top of that, the work-life balance probably isn't going to be great. Like if you're going to be there, it's going to be work nonstop, no doubt. The life balance side of things is probably going to have to get sacrificed. So I would put New York as C tier. That's for people who are going to be really, really focused about their career and everything else can kind of be sacrificed temporarily at least. Next one, LA, Los Angeles. I would say this is, again, it's a great place if you want a little bit of nature and good weather. I would probably say out of all the places in America, California has the best weather. Sunny, dry. The landscape as well is pretty beautiful. You got the option of the coast, but you also have the mountains as well. And then you've got the city in between, which is also great. Has what New York does not have. And again, it's very good for networking, socializing. And like New York, it's got a nice little bit of variety when it comes to neighborhoods. I didn't mention that previously, but in New York and in LA, you have different areas that can kind of feel like you're in a different city almost. So that could be quite cool for some people who need that variety. But I think that's pretty much it in terms of the downsides. Again, it's just like really expensive. The traffic is absolutely horrendous. And getting around, from my experience, is just a nightmare. It's like a full-on like dedication sometimes to go somewhere. It will take like an hour and a half to go there, and then you have to go back another hour and a half. And you're spending a lot of time in LA just moving around. And then the people, like, questionable. I feel like it's quite superficial. Everything's quite transactional, and you know the likelihood of you being able to socialize successfully is going to be quite dependent upon the way you look or what you do or how many followers you have. It is quite shallow in that sense, and I don't really have much experience on the dating scene in LA, but that can also be maybe a little bit questionable. And from my experience, every time I'm in LA, I feel like I'm a little bit isolated because it's like really far away from everything. And on top of that, the time zone is pretty awkward. I feel like I'm just behind everyone. Like even, you know, some of Europe and Dubai, you feel like you're almost like a day behind everyone. So that's a downside in that sense. And then also, I don't know if it's as bad as it used to be, but I don't feel like it's improved a whole lot. There's a serious homelessness problem. Like out of all the places I've been to, I've never seen so many homeless, cracked out people walking around the streets. And it's just kind of accepted and tolerated, which is really weird. I haven't experienced like any homeless man trying to jab me with his needle or cause me any problems, but still, I'm always on edge whenever I walk past someone who is completely on another planet, and it's just very unpredictable as to what they might do. So that's not really good, considering if you're paying a lot of money to stay in a nice area. So that needs sorting out. Like New York, I would probably put LA as C tier. Next, we'll move on to Miami. So on the other coast, we have Miami, and again, great weather, although probably not as good as the West Coast just because it's more tropical. So you're going to have seasons. You're going to have like rainy seasons, hurricane season, a lot of downpours. But when the weather's good, it's pretty damn good. You've also got amazing networking opportunities, similar level to New York, I would say. I would probably say even better than LA. And that's just because of recent times, a lot of people are kind of going there to either live or just to do business. You know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs there, a lot of people who are just doing stuff, go-getters. They're all spending a lot of time in Miami. So that's great. And then you do have a big option when it comes to accommodation. From my experience, when I've stayed there, great choice of villas, also great choice of apartments. Well, apartments with like a nice view, decent decor. You've got like a gym in the building, you also got a pool. So it's kind of got everything in one. And there are areas that are walkable, but again, like a lot of American places, not as bad as LA, but you have to get around in the car. Probably up there with one of the most social places in America. Great nightlife. So if you're into nightlife, partying and all that kind of thing, Miami's probably the spot to go to. And then on top of that, I would say it's quickly becoming number one spot for gyms. They have opened up a lot of gyms recently in Miami, and there's even more which are set to open. So I would say probably one of the best spots for gyms in the USA right now, or soon to be in the next couple of years. Downsides, it is pretty expensive. I don't think it's quite as expensive as New York or LA, but it's still not cheap. And then on top of that, the social scene is quite transactional, similar to LA. I think similar, but maybe different. But again, it's one of those things whereby how much money you have, how you look, how many followers you have is probably going to increase your chances of just like getting yourself in the right place and improving your chances when it comes to dating. So again, quite shallow. And as I mentioned, obviously the climate, a little bit questionable. There's good times, there's bad times. And, I'd probably say it's quite a distracting place. You have to be quite strong in terms of your discipline to not get carried away with everything else that is going on there, because it's for sure probably one of the most entertaining cities to live in the United States. So I would put Miami in B tier. I think for digital nomads, it's going to be better than LA and New York, but still not going to be absolutely ideal for most people. Next, we're going to move out of the USA. We're going to go to a completely different continent, right at the tip of Africa, South Africa, in fact, Cape Town. I went there for the first time this year and I was absolutely blown away, mostly by the natural beauty, probably one of the most beautiful places which I have ever been to. And then on top of that, fairly reasonably priced. I mean, there's obviously places which are going to be expensive to stay, but overall I would say it was pretty cheap. Probably one of the cheapest out of all the places which I've mentioned in this video. There's times of the year where it's absolutely popping off and there's loads of people there. And this is usually their summer, but most people's winters, obviously summer, southern hemisphere, but November, December, January, February, March are probably the best months. Amazing weather, mostly sunny, dry, and it's the place to be. During these busy periods, it's going to be very social. There's going to be a lot of things going on, which is great. And despite the fact that it is South Africa, everybody pretty much speaks English, so that's good. And then on top of that, it's a fairly decent time zone, very similar to London. So you're kind of in between Asia and America, which is good. And then you'll also find that it's pretty calm. It can be calm. You can have like the busyness and the action, but you can also have the peace and the quiet, and the opportunities for just exploring the nature are the absolute best. So there's a lot of pros, but there's also a lot of cons as well. One of the biggest cons would be the crime and the potential dangers of living there. I didn't personally experience it, but I can understand it because there is a big wealth gap. Okay, there's a lot of poverty there, and you can be in one really nice area and very quickly just go to the absolute slums where, it's not going to be a good place to be spending any time at all. So there is that risk of something potentially happening to you. On top of that, I would say it's quite seasonal. When it's not the busy periods, it's going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be a lot quieter and the weather's not great. It's pretty wet and wild, windy and stormy. So during most people's summers in the Northern Hemisphere, the winter can be a little bit brutal and less than ideal. And I would also say it's kind of isolated. It's very far away from everything. So the opportunity for you to quickly just hop onto a flight and go somewhere it's not that great. Okay, the options that you have in terms of destinations of direct flights from Cape Town aren't the best, and it's just a long ass flight. But if there's going to be World War III, you're probably going to be in a very good spot. right at the bottom of South Africa. You ain't going to get bombed there, or at least you won't anytime soon. I'd say it's a pretty solid place to relocate to, at least temporarily during the peak season. So I'll put it in B tier. Next up, Dubai. I would say, I mean, I live here. I've been living here for the past 6 years. So I think you already know the answer to that one. Great climate. I mean, from October up until April, May, it's probably got one of the best climates on the planet. It's just sunny almost every single day. It's not too hot. Very predictable, which is absolutely great. Infrastructure up there with one of the best places in the world. Quality of life and the service is up there with the very best. Things are just very efficient and things get done. On top of that, you have a very strong networking opportunity with other digital nomads and entrepreneurs. It's extremely well connected to the rest of the world. The Dubai airport and the Emirates airline pretty much flies to friggin' any place you can think of. If it's not Emirates, it's going to be Fly Dubai, but almost every destination will be able to get to Dubai. And on top of that, it is extremely safe. I mean, obviously, the past couple of months, it's been a little bit questionable with the whole situation in the Middle East and Iran. It has been a little bit of a stain on Dubai's reputation as being one of the safest places to live on the planet. Once you're in here and walking around the streets and like things getting stolen, people committing crimes, that doesn't really happen. But there is always that kind of risk of maybe something happening in the future with neighboring countries because it is the Middle East. Like Middle East, the area of the most fucking volatile countries kicking off with each other. So that's always going to be a little bit of a risk, although I don't think the risk is that high. If it was, I'd be out of here. And then other downsides, you've got the other end of the climate with it being extremely hot during the summer months. So June, July, August, September is pretty brutal. You're just not going to be spending much time outside. That being said, it is very well equipped for the heat. So most places are going to be indoors and they're going to be very well adapted for keeping things cool. But it just means that, as I said, you ain't going to be doing much outside. It can be quite expensive. I don't think it's as expensive as some of the other cities around the world. It just depends kind of where you live and how much you want to be spending. But it's definitely not somewhere I'd want to be on a budget. And although it is an entertaining place, it's also like Miami where there's just so much going on. There's so much temptation. There's so many opportunities to get distracted. So you have to be quite disciplined with not getting sucked into the wrong crowd, doing the wrong activities, because it'll pull you away from what it is that you're supposed to be doing and your purpose overall. And on top of that, you are going to have to behave yourself. It's quite a strict place. Probably out of all places which I will mention today, it's the most strict place. Now, I don't find it that strict because, you know, I don't really like to commit crimes. In fact, I don't commit any crimes that I'm aware of. And I don't really feel the need to do any drugs or just talk bad about Dubai because I actually quite like it. So if you do come here, you just have to understand that there are rules. You have to respect the rules. If you don't respect the rules, you're probably going to get kicked out or go to jail. So just don't do that, right? If you fuck around, you're going to find out. If you want to be living in a place that's just open for doing whatever the hell you want to do, maybe don't come to Dubai because you probably won't like it. But despite that, I think it's a fantastic place to live. I've chosen to live here for the past 6 years and I'm going to stay here for the foreseeable. I'm not a digital nomad, but I was once upon a time and I came here a couple of times and I liked it so much I decided to live here. So Dubai for me, it's not perfect. I'm going to put it in A tier. Next up, we've got Tokyo. So we're going to Japan now. I've been there a couple of times. It's an amazing place. The infrastructure is absolutely fantastic. Getting around is pretty easy. It is huge, but the underground system is very efficient. And there's a lot of places that you can kind of walk around in. The food scene is up there with one of the best in the world. I mean, I will go back to Japan just to eat because the food is that good. And the people there, very respectful. They're not on your face, and it's generally extremely clean and extremely safe. Apart from Dubai, I would say it's up there with one of the safest places that you can go to. But I would say it kind of stops there. One of the problems is that it's kind of a pro and a con. The culture is so amazing, but at the same time, the culture is so strong that they don't really let foreigners impact that culture. So there's not a huge amount of people that are speaking English. So the language barrier is a huge issue, probably the biggest issue out of all the places which I mentioned today, that language barrier is going to make it a little bit harder for you to socialize and to network, unless you're just networking and socializing with other expats, or you manage to find some Japanese people that actually speak your language. In terms of accommodation, I wouldn't say it's really that great. A lot of the apartments that are on offer are quite small and quite overpriced. You don't really get a whole lot for your money. And then again, it's quite seasonal. In the winter, it's very cold. And in the summer, it's very hot and humid. So it's like spring and autumn are the best times to visit. So if you are a nomad and you're going for a couple of months, they're kind of the best times to go. And then because it's on the absolute other side of the world from LA, the time zone is not the best. You're almost so far ahead of everyone else that, you know, that might not be ideal if your business operates or you have staff that are based in Europe or in America. The time zone is just too much of a head flag. I remember when I went from LA to Japan, I think the time difference was like 16 hours. It completely scrambled my body clock. So despite Japan being an amazing place, for a digital nomad, I would probably put it in D tier. More of a tourist destination than a place to actually live and work. Next up, we got London, my home country. Not my home city, but a place where I spent 3 years living in before I moved to Dubai. So good for some people, not so good for others. Wasn't great for me, but it's got some pros. You've got strong culture, very diverse, goes back a long way. So if you're big on your culture, you're going to have a lot to do in London. Very good for networking. You got some of the industry's best living there, although despite maybe quite a few people have left over the past couple of years, there's still quite a lot of heavy hitters who still live in London. It's very walkable, so you can walk from one end of London to the other end of London, and it's kind of not to the point where it's so big that it's impossible to get around. They have extremely good infrastructure. The tube is very good, so that's fantastic. And then on top of that, I would say the time zone is pretty favorable because it's kind of in the middle of everything in between America and Asia. So, you know, you're not too far ahead or behind. But I would say the pros kind of end there. You know, it's very expensive. Certainly got even more expensive over the years. Accommodation wise, you don't get a whole lot for your money. Even when you're spending quite a lot of money, it's still quite small and cramped, and you ain't really getting a view or many services that come with that. The crime hasn't really got any better. In fact, it's probably got worse over the past couple of years. It's not good, and it doesn't seem to be improving. I would also say it's quite depressing. I mean, I think weather-wise, up there with one of the worst. It doesn't have quite the same extremes as like the cold and the heat like New York might do, or some other countries or cities. But it's just pretty fucking miserable. It's like just grey and rainy all the time, and sometimes you're not even guaranteed to get a summer. But when the UK is blessed with a good summer, it is honestly one of the best places in the world to be. So digital nomads thinking about going to London or for a temporary period of time, summertime is by far the best. The winter is just incredibly depressing. And you know, it's just quite hectic as well. London is just full of sirens and hustle and bustle and things going on that you probably get to the point where you just want to escape. So for me, I would put London in C tier. Next, we have Bangkok, big city in Thailand. I've been there once before. I would like to go back there again. In terms of what you get for your money goes far. You have very good quality of accommodation, modern and spacious. Up there with probably one of the best with the accommodation, on par with Cape Town almost, and Bali in terms of what you get for your money, maybe even better than Bali. It's also got solid infrastructure. Food scene is pretty good, and it's pretty well connected to a lot of other cities in Southeast Asia. Bad things, it's pretty hot and humid, I think, a lot of the time. So, you know, going out and about can be intense, but it is well equipped for dealing with this. Everything's indoors and air conditioned and everything. The traffic is absolutely horrendous, and the air quality is also not very good. I remember when I went to Bangkok, every time I was outside for like an hour or two, I washed my face and it was absolutely filthy. And then you've also got the added hazard of a lot of ladyboys. A lot of ladyboys knocking about. So gentlemen, you need to be aware of this, and you need to be careful because you might be in for a little surprise. But apart from that, pretty good. better than a lot of other cities for digital nomads. I would put it in B tier. Next, we're going to move on to Spain, probably the country which I have spent the most time in, aside from the UK and the United Arab Emirates. Spain is absolutely fantastic, and there's a couple of places which I do want to mention. We're going to start off with Marbella. Spent a lot of time in Marbella. I would say one of the best things about Marbella is the climate. You know, it's almost similar to California, if not better, especially in the summertime. It doesn't get too hot. It's just guaranteed sunshine every single day. And in the winter, it's pretty mild, doesn't get cold. It's also pretty good in terms of the whole work-life balance. It's a place where you can get your work done, but at the same time, enjoy life. And it's a very calm, sort of stress-free life. You've got beautiful nature, the mountains, go on hikes, you've got the beaches, you've got like lots of things to do, especially in the summertime in terms of like the restaurants, the beach clubs, and the networking opportunities in the summer when more people are spending time there. And obviously, one of the reasons why I've spent a lot of time there is just because it has a really good gym scene. So they've got some fantastic gyms there. And the apartments and the Airbnbs are great. Like in terms of what you will get for your money, you get some really beautifully decorated and modern apartments and villas. So up there with one of the best places in terms of the spots which I've stayed at. And despite it being in Spain, everybody speaks English. Almost everyone speaks English, so that's pretty good. And I would say it's up there one of my favorite places to drive. I will always rent a car when I go to Marbella, and I absolutely love driving around. The scenes, the weather, having the top down, you know, there isn't really a huge amount of traffic. There is on like the main road during the summer, but apart from that, like it's an absolute pleasure driving in Marbella. So that's great. Downside is it's quite seasonal. So in the wintertime, it's not like dead, but it's a lot quieter. So the opportunities for networking maybe aren't that great. And then because it's not a city, it's more of a town, if that, especially like some of the places, it's like more of a village. So it can get a little bit boring. And then it's not very well connected to the rest of Europe, I would say. You got to drive an hour to go to Malaga Airport, and then even Malaga Airport is not the best when it comes to connecting to a lot of other destinations around the world. And I would also say that there is a bit of crime there, more so just people's villas getting robbed, and the fact that quite a few gangsters and dealers, drug dealers live there. It's pretty weird, and it's always been like that for a very long time. I haven't really experienced any problems, but there is that element of like, all right, some fucking dodgy characters who live here. And then the fact that it's not a city, it kind of misses some of the things that a city has available to you, such as the shopping and the services and the things like that. So overall, I would say it's good, but not that good. It will go in B tier. The next Spanish place is Barcelona. Barcelona, or should I say Barcelona. One of my favorite cities on the planet. What an absolute vibe. This place kind of has it all. It's a city which also has a little bit of nature, and it's on the coast. So you've got like this great work-life balance where you can work hard, but also enjoy life. And you also have like a big community of expats and digital nomads from all different nationalities. So it is very good for socializing and networking. Price-wise, I wouldn't say it's good. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's kind of, it is what it is for the city. The airport's great, so it's very well connected to the rest of Europe and places outside of Europe. It's a pretty walkable city. You can get around by foot from one end to the other, which is great. And then on top of that, the climate's pretty good as well. It doesn't get too cold in the winter. And even in the summer, it's pretty pleasant, although maybe 1 or 2 months in the summer, it gets a little bit hot. But it's pleasant. Like, there's a lot of things you can do there outdoors. Downsides of Barcelona, I don't think the accommodation is that great. You don't get a whole lot for your money, and I feel like there's probably less options than ever before because of them clamping down on the digital nomads and tourists. The locals aren't very happy. In fact, a lot of the locals just seem to hate tourists and the nomads, so there might be a bit of, I don't know, probably no clashes, but a little bit of negative energy if you are a digital nomad going there. And on top of that, crime has been increasingly getting worse. A lot of pickpocketing in Barcelona, so you need to watch your possessions. And then on top of that, it's going to be friggin' crowded in the summertime, so you just have to deal with a lot of the tourists who will be visiting during the summer months. So Barcelona, or Barcelona. I think Once Upon a Time was in B tier, but unfortunately, due to a lot of the issues it's facing with immigration, pickpockets, and the new Airbnb ban that's coming in 2028, I think it's going to be a bit more of a less appealing place for digital nomads, unfortunately. The final one in Spain, which I feel like is worth mentioning, is Ibiza, just because I've spent so much time there. And I do get some people who are asking me like, hey, Mike, I'm thinking of going there for the summer. What do you think? Oh, well, pros. Let's look at the pros, okay? One of the most stunning places that I've been to, the island of Ibiza, in terms of like the hikes, the cliffs, the walks, the beaches, the blue water. Oh my goodness! Formentera, absolutely stunning. Up there with like kind of same level as Cape Town. Maybe not as dramatic as Cape Town, but very, very beautiful. Definitely up there as one of the top spots out of all the other places which I've mentioned. The weather is also fantastic, although it does get a little bit humid in the summertime, which is why Marbella is kind of more favorable than Ibiza. And, you know, the work-life balance is great. In fact, you probably have more of a life balance there. In terms of going somewhere and just enjoying life, having fun and being around people who are happy and also want to have fun, it's also, yeah, up there with being the absolute best of the best. The wellness scene has definitely been improving over the past couple of years. There's new gyms which have opened up, good quality, healthy food spots to go to. And it's just, although very lively and entertaining, it can also be a very calm and peaceful place, just depending upon where you want to stay on the island. And the airport itself, particularly during the summer months, is very well connected to the rest of Europe, although in the winter, a lot of the flights just don't happen. So yeah, amazing place. I'm a lot of the time at my absolute happiest there, but I think that's because I'm probably doing the least amount of work and not caring about anything. So that kind of moves into the con territory. It's incredibly distracting. I mean, you got to think it's a party place. It's a party island. It's built for hedonism, for having fun, enjoying life. So it's probably one of the hardest places to lock in and get work done. You have to be extremely disciplined. And it's very easy to have a couple of drinks, go on a night out, and things spiral out of control and you don't even know what day it is. So you need to just friggin' get up and leave. So I would say it's more of a place, not necessarily to work and build, but to just enjoy life and escape, recharge and, well, recharge or not recharge, depending upon what you're doing. I would also say it's so friggin' expensive. Every year it seems to get more and more expensive for no good reason. Like even just like the food and the taxis getting around, outrageously expensive. Accommodation also through the roof. And I feel like there's even less choices when it comes to Airbnb now because they're cracking down on it. So very, very expensive during peak season. Although I guess a lot more reasonably priced off season. And you can argue, at least in my opinion, May, June and September are the best months to go, at least for me, in my experience. Language barrier can sometimes be an issue, and on top of that, it's a very small island, so you get a bit of cabin fever with just being on the same island for a very long period of time, where you just don't have access to a lot of the shops and facilities that you would get when you're in a city. So that's just the price to pay when you're living on an island. It might take friggin' weeks or months to get anything delivered to you because of all the different stops that the package needs to go through. So for that reason, I'm going to put Ibiza in D tier. So there we have it, folks. That's a list of the places which I have actually been to. There's some honorable mentions that I have not yet been to yet, including Valencia, which people are now saying is the new Barcelona. You also have Medellin, some places in Colombia, which are also pretty attractive to digital nomads. You got Singapore, you got Mexico City, and you got some other cities in Europe, but I can't really say anything about that yet because I've not been. I need to go to these places to at least say firsthand my opinion and what I've experienced and whether or not it is a good or not so good place for digital nomads to visit. And you'll notice that no destination made it to the S tier, and the reason behind that is because no place is perfect. Even the top spots have some of the drawbacks that will prevent it from being S tier, in my opinion. And I didn't even get started on talking about taxes, rules, regulations, visas, duration of stays, things like that, because it's completely dependent upon the individual, their passport, where they're coming from, how long they're staying for, and how much money they are making. So that requires a completely separate video and probably requires an expert to talk about it, not me. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. ultimately, it really depends upon what it is that you want from life. Do you really want to go all in hardcore work mode, or do you want to kind of just life max, but do a little bit of work, but really just enjoy your quality of life? Or do you want to be somewhere in between? And then I guess on top of that, it just depends on what stage are you in your career. If you are on a budget and you're quite restricted, there's a lot of these places which just are not going to make any sense for you at all, because it's just going to be too expensive, and it's just going to be a lot of pressure to even survive in some of these places. But if you're doing well, your business is established, and you're absolutely caked up to your eyeballs, then all of these places are going to be fine for you, and you'll be living a pretty damn good quality of life, at least in terms of your accommodation and things that you can do. So there you have it. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.